Can we throw it open to the audience, please? Anybody who has a question, you can raise your hand by clicking on your name and raise your hand. And then Anand will unmute so that you can ask questions. I also have some questions of the audience because I can see some interesting people have joined it, which can add to the perspective that panelists have asked. So it's open, guys. So whoever wants to ask a question can ask. While they're doing that, I had a follow-up to Zubin. While someone is thinking of the question. Zubin, you said that you believe the calls will be far better quality now going forward. Is it because there will be some teaming up between a subject matter expert and the sales guy on a customer call? Otherwise, the same sales guy, how will he make a better call now?
Your voice was not clear. Could you just repeat that question, please?
You said the call's quality is likely to go up in the future.
Yes.
Is the comment that you made. I noted that down. Is it because there will be SMEs also in the call? Because now it's an online call, perhaps, and one person can be on a customer call. Is that
absolutely, sir?
That the okay? So
you answered it. It's going to happen two ways, and you know, both Shanta and Srirang refer to that. They're going to be a whole lot of our own employees who are going to be very good and who are already ready and up to the job. But that 28% that you were talking about and that Shanta referred to, and the whole thousands and tens of thousands of people that we hired, which Srirang was, I mean, we were talking digital and we were hiring for the last 4 years. You know, we've all become big banks. A whole different set of training skills will be imparted, and the training will also happen through the e-learning platforms largely. Right. You know, we had, when we were doing training in 2012, 13, 14, in those years, our classroom used to be 65, maybe a little, not exactly that percentage, but we would have 35% classroom and 65% e-learning. Today, the e-learning and the video learning, digital learning is huge. It's 90%, 95%. And that learning will either be given to people who had difficulty in managing to talk to people, or actually creating subject matter experts out of them so that they could focus on a particular area. Calls are going to become far more effective. But I must qualify, and I think I missed this little point, which I had scribbled when I had decided to speak, was that I don't think you'll see too much of a change in rural India. For the next few years at least, you will see contact-based banking still in the rural parts of the country. The urban parts, the super metros, the big metros, and the large metros and the big towns are all headed towards, quite a bit towards digital. So like I said, you'll see smaller branches, maybe lesser people over there, but your rural focus and you know, MFIs, etc., still need people to go out there and meet the people, and it's going to happen. And we own a big MFI. We've got Bharat Finance, and we're so happy and proud to have them here. We're seeing and learning so much from them.
Right. I got a question posted to me, and I would like to ask this of Shanta first. If it's going to be more digital in the future, what will influence the customer loyalty and differentiation between two banks? How are banks going to compete and really win this customer over?
You know, Ravi, thanks for the question. You know, I'm almost like an astrologer right now. So I'm going to predict things which all of you have question marks on. So let me start with the fact that there's one thing which is common for a customer. Whether you like it or not, he wants to be serviced. Simple. When you bring the customer into your franchise, whether you brought him through digital or non-digital or whatever process you got him in, the service standards will depict what is going to be the share of wallet. One of my panelists, I think Zubin, mentioned about how you'll have to, you know, you won't let a customer leave the franchise anymore. In good old days, we were open to people using other tools, other banks for different products.
Right.
I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the banking system to create products, or if they're incapable to create those products because of the size of the bank or cost to income ratios, will be forced to do third party tie-ups to make sure that you service the customer in a one-stop shop. Ultimately, the customer is king. Whether whichever channel he comes from is irrelevant right now. It is about how am I going to service the customer.
Think you're going to ring fence him, try and ring fence him?
Through cross-selling, ring fencing him. The other thing that you just asked Zubin, and I completely agree with Zubin. The MFI space, let me tell you that 80% of our feet on street actually came back to work in the MFI space.
Okay.
We didn't have this issue at all. I think we are largely focusing on the digital footprint for the urban centers.
Right.
And notwithstanding the fact that digital adoption in the rural areas has also been very high. Their ability to use mobile banking, the ability to offer products and servicing through mobile banking will decide the stickiness of this customer for the future. And that's where the organizations will have to upskill themselves. Will have to be agile, and their ability and speed to actually bring in those kind of applications which are complete in all aspects will be very important. I'm looking at it as an opportunity. Let's look at this, that 70% of my sales tomorrow, if it does move digital, okay, it has already shown, I already told you in India, there is a bank which has been acquiring almost 3 lakh accounts through the digital phase. When a customer walks in through the digital phase, he would want to be serviced only digitally. It's exactly the new millenniums. When we are hiring them today, we are hiring our entire onboarding, we have moved digital. The ability for these guys, to do their projects, etc., digitally. So it's about the way you acquire. The channel you acquire will be the channel which will service. And that will be the channel which will ring fence these customers to become your long-standing, loyal customers. And being small, sometimes your agility and speed of execution may make it easier to make these things happen.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a strong believer that this is an opportunity and will force all of us to move in that direction sooner or later.
So Ravi, if I were to just add to what Shanta and Zubin said, and that's a good question, right? How would banks differentiate themselves? So I think we should address it largely from what the customer needs would be. And I can tell you for sure, banking, though we are a service sector, or we are supposed to be a service brand, have seldom really differentiated ourselves, significantly compared to any other bank. So other than a few, points here and there, I must confess that A equals B equals C equals D in many ways. And if you see our product services offerings, they're not really differentiated. Whereas if you were to cut yourself to FMCG space, right, their ability to understand every customer, right? For example, the whole N equals 1, which we all often talk about, and customize experience to each customer in the manner he or she needs it, I think was something that we always lacked. So we were in a way commoditized, largely, and a function of distribution I always maintain. But I think increasingly in the new world, you will be differentiated on the basis of the experience you're able to provide, and customized experience on the basis of what a Murli wants, or what a Ravi wants, and what a Shanta wants. So to me, that is the granularity that I think would differentiate, banks, and those banks which are able to do that will do it better. Second, one of the big advantages we're going to have, and in a way, I agree with Zubin and Shanta in some sense. I just want to add one flavor to it, is that your experience to customers, even in markets which are so-called rural, if you were to tag, Kolhapur or Sangli, or even markets even beyond that, I think today with digitization, and if, let us say for a moment, we assume that services can be provided independent of location, your ability to provide top-notch experience to a rich customer in Sangli can be extremely different from what is available today. Today, because it's a physical world, I'm constrained by talent being present in those markets, which I may not have always access to. Now I have a position where strategically I can have talent which is independent of the market. So I can have the best specialist serving my best customer, irrespective of where the customer sits or where the employee sits, thereby opening up a world of opportunity for providing the best service to the customer. So for example, if I have a customer in Bathinda who wants a trade solution I can get the best trade specialist to engage with him out of Bombay, which today I'm constrained because I have to live with the person in Batinda and I may not have access to trade specialists in Batinda at all points of time. So I make do with someone else. So to me, this is a world that will open up huge amount of opportunities. So I would pin it down to banks which are able to offer customized experiences to individuals to the customer as he or she wants it. I think would be the banks that would really be sought after by customers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ravi, can I add something on this? I think one of the things, Ravi, I think I want to share with all the three panelists. We've been talking about the same thing in TMI, and we've been saying that how will the sales process or the last stage of closure of sales after objections and all that, or profiling will change. And I agree with Srirang completely. What we are now building a sales training program for digital selling is largely focused on customization, largely based on profiling, very customized pitching. And how do we do expert into the call wherever required, because you're on live calls with parties. So our digital selling course, we're also building a technology platform which will enable a lot of training online. So I think somewhere, Ravi, I think we are in the right direction. I think that's something I'm very happy to hear. So.
Right. So a couple of people have raised hands. So first, can we have Vani Shetty from RBL to raise her question, and to which panelist is that addressed to? And a couple of people.
Thank you. I think I'll have a question, but not really choosing the panelists. I'll leave that to the panelists themselves. One question after hearing all the three panelists is that servicing a customer and a quick response time to the customer are going to be very critical and maybe the differentiating factor going forward, which means that your decision making, the information flow, the product reengineering bit, etc., also have to align to that bit. So are there talks within banks to look at structures, look at processes, people, etc., to enable this bit? Because we keep hearing about disruption, about the VUCA world, etc., where there's a need to experiment. It works, go forward. It doesn't work, take a step back and quickly dismantle it, then come with something new and do that. So yeah, that's my question.
Just to add, there is another question in a similar vein, and then I will ask that. What changes do you see in HR space, especially on technology and process fronts? So if you could combine both these questions and answer, who are among the panelists wants to go first, and if someone else wants to add in. And then I have a couple of more questions that have been popped up. We're going to close at 6:30 sharp. So if anybody else has questions, please post them quickly.
So Ravi, I'll take the first one. I think the second one, I'll probably leave it. Others can also join in. On to your question, I think it's a very, very important question. I missed the name who asked it, but I must tell. Sorry?
Vani Shetty.
Vani Shetty. I think it's a very, very intuitively and insightful question. Why I'm saying this is the core of where I think what we talk and what we will execute, and where it will possibly hit a roadblock is if we don't go back to the organization and review the way we are organized, review the processes, the way they're built. Again, if you were to look at it, again, I'm broad basing it, I may be wrong, but most companies have built processes around products and not around customers. So we have processes built around credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, commercial banking, products. They have process around products, and I'm assuming most banks would have it because most organizations were driven by pushing respective products. I think if you were to really go back to looking at it from a customer point of view, it would mean that the whole organization has to be rewired very differently. So how do you really go back to an organization where you're able to have an agile team, which is constructed, which has a cross-section and cross-reference of all the products sitting together and designing a process for a customer? For example, if TMI is a customer of ours, and as a bank, have to serve the needs of TMI. Now, how do you really put together a service proposition to TMI, which is cutting across products? Now, today, I'm afraid if TMI has a RM at best, but RM in turn will be served by some 17 product managers sitting behind. Each of our processes are independent, right, of what exactly TMI wants. So I think this is about completely reversing the organization, and there will be a lot of political processes unleashed within the organization when you do that, because these are very core power centers which have got built around products. So when you really flip it around customer, it would essentially mean you'll have to effectively do away with the existing structures and reconstruct your organization around serving the customer, which would mean you need to have extremely agile, flexible teams cutting across product line. Now, it also puts into question on the governance. So these are not easy questions. So how do you really hold the P&L accountability? Do you hold it at the customer level? Do you hold it at the product level? Because the product guy also has a separate P&L to be managed. So these are not easy questions. If they were easy, we would have addressed it yesterday. These are tough questions. But certainly I would argue that this would mean going back and reviewing your own processes, your approach, your org structure, etc., etc. Only then you'll be able to achieve what we're talking about. Otherwise, a lot of it will fall flat.
Okay. So if I can...
I'll just add on to Srirang, and I was thinking on my toes while Srirang was speaking. So let me tell you, this new world has also opened new opportunities for us to understand how we communicate. So one of the things that the good part about being on a Zoom call is you can always, look at a PPT and also speak to a customer on products. So what happens is, while you want to service a customer, what does your customer want? A customer wants to know how good your product is. Is it giving me is it giving me a customer experience which is complete in all respects? You have opportunities to be learning on the go. There are multiple channels today where I can learn with small bites about servicing a customer. So the good part about digital servicing will be that your learning agility will be far higher, because you will have multi-channel approach to reach a customer with a query. So I'm just assuming today that I have a customer on this call and he has a query. I would need a reservoir of information available to me at any point of time. And today that opportunity exists, which probably in a face-to-face it didn't. So learning bites, enhancing your learning on the go, having a help chat when you're in a conversation with a customer, I think those are going to be the way forward.
Thanks.
It's not just going to be, process change only, but also about aiding him through learning on the go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Come in a rush. I'm going to quickly shoot it, and we want 1 minute answers. The first one is, with FOS going digital, would there be a difference in the compensation structure? And club to that, I've added another question. How will you set targets for such guys? And how do you reward them? Zubin, if you can take that quickly.
Certainly, sir. A damn good question. I think, the entire way, the metrics will more or less remain the same. The way the performance management is driven will change. But I can tell you one thing. It's already started happening, and it's going to happen more. Fixed salaries will remain the same or go down. Variables will go up. It's here to stay. It's going to happen. I can't comment right away on the quantum. I don't think because it's digital selling, the salary has to go higher than a person who actually went out in the field and met. I'm not seeing that as of now happening in that manner. But I can tell you, for across the bank, what's going to happen is we're going to the entire bank, and then Srirang just said this. He actually read off my sheet. It was so uncanny. I said exactly the same things. The organizations will need to change to move and work around customer segment focusing, customer centric tech, and will move away from selling products. When you do that, you'll have different skill sets of people coming in for development, to handle a particular customer segment, to work for that, and to deliver. There could be a change in pricing, which is salaries. There could be a change in evaluation of competencies. And there will certainly, probably, I can tell you for sure, there'll be a change in the mix of variable versus fixed.
Will there be change in HR tech too? That's a question.
HR tech is changing so much. HR tech is changing so much. That's got really nothing to do with the current pandemic and this thing. It's moved. I mean, we are literally thinking on our feet. I mean, we've already started evaluating biometrics from a distance, not the face because there's a mask, but the palm and from a distance of 5 inches. That's just the attendance system. Geo-tagging our employees to know where they are, where they logged in their attendance from, which customer they met. Right now, if they're meeting physically, HR tech is changed completely. My colleagues will.
Do I have the
nod
panelists to increase the time by 5 minutes? There are 4 more questions to go.
Certainly, sir.
I'm fine.
From my side, no problem.
Shanta, is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So to extend from what I asked Zubin, this is to Srirang and Shanta. The question is, will this technology, the way that's worded, I'm just trying to distill it out, will this also help me engage with this staff who's largely going to be non-office or work from home?
Yeah.
So
Srirang, would you like to go first or?
Go for it, Shanta.
So, this word technology, we use it conveniently, honestly speaking. I think it's about just aiding people to make a good sale or for aiding your employee to live a better life at work. See, there are choices that employees are making today between life and livelihood. Let's first recognize that. There is an element of safety, which is a very important angle that we have to take care of our employees. Whether we geotag them, whether we track them through biometric attendance, I think the important piece that we would use technology right now is on the learning piece. Are we upskilling our employees enough today? I'm largely investing in technology for upskilling my employees. What we have done, couple of things we have done, and we've done them pretty well, I think, is, we always attend webinars of people that we hardly know or who don't understand our organization. It's unbelievable that my team has put together an entire 12-month calendar today for investing through the technology that we already have, which is WebEx, to engage our own employees to actually speak to our employee base because they understand our customer. So the entire process of the webinar has moved towards understanding our customer. Mm-hmm. And we've started our whole journey, and already I've finished about 5 of them. And what we are touching upon is upskilling our employees, simultaneously giving them safety at work, and also the security that we will take care of you whenever we want to communicate something. The important piece that I want to bring here is that content creation and content is where I think we will be challenged. There will be a lot of dependency on partners to bring in content which is relevant to the particular bank that we work. We've tested this because these are experts. They're good at the work they do, but they need to be aided enough to make sure. That's one. The second is communication. Let's understand that I have to connect with an audience here, and they need to feel that I'm talking to them. Ultimately, I'm doing it through a screen. So there's a lot of investment in the bank today to make sure people communicate properly so that we are able to groom people to not only train and upskill our resources, but also to ensure that we do new employee orientation, because many of our employees who are joining now are joining in a virtual world. They don't know any of us. So how do you bring empathy and emotional quotient onto a conversation and make them a part of it? How do you do your team meetings using technology? How do you ensure that you do your employee engagement using technology? And I'm happy to tell you that we have progressed decently well in that space. It's unbelievable how this has given us an opportunity that we can engage so comfortably with our employees. So much so, we've also started doing Zoom parties as a structure to our organization's leaders. Right. While we do budgeting, we did our board meetings, we did all of that. We also looked at how do you engage your employees to make them a part of this. It's a 24/7 workforce today. There's a burnout that will come very quickly. We have to use technology carefully so that employees feel involved, engaged. It's a combination of life and livelihood. Right. And that's how I think we've looked at technology more as an aid rather than just using it to track an employee on a holistic basis, because I think it's here to stay. we will have 70% of the workforce work from home in the days to come. And not that people are working from home. This is just to connect to your previous question, that compensation has got no correlation to people, whether they work from home or they work from office. It's outcome and measurements that we will have to put into place. Have we reached that level? I think we still have a long way to go in tracking productivity and performance of every individual, each line by line, which is not quantitative in nature. Right. I think that's the challenge where we will have to, supersede ourselves and ensure that we do that well, so that we don't impact compensation or variable payouts at any point of time.
Srirang, can I pose one question to you? Thanks, Shanta. If RMs are generally able to farm customers well nowadays because they've been trained in that, but how about the hunters? Even in the urban setting, will they be able to do that? Working from home?
Yeah, I think, Ravi, so I qualify, right? So at this stage, I don't think banks have a choice but to give it a shot. In the sense that today you're going to have your existing customer, and I think intuitively it's very much possible, because I think we have not mined our existing customer relationships as well. And as Zubin was mentioning in his previous point, I think a lot of banks, can cross-sell into the existing customer database and itself grow significantly. So to me, I think getting leads from existing customers and cross-selling to them is certainly possible. How are we going to really do an NCA, which is new customer acquisition to the bank? I think is something only time will tell us, because I think our ability to embed ourselves into the purchasing patterns of customers, because it's a big difference. For example, how will customers buy cars going forward? Will they come to the dealerships to buy, or will they going to buy it online? Now, if they come to dealerships to buy, then the physical model of DMA, DSA will again surface back for an NCA, right? But will those acquisitions, will anyone buy a car online? I don't know, but they'll definitely buy a cell phone online. So if you find a lot of your personal loans and credit card NC acquisition today is increasingly happening online, but your home loan or your auto loan or other products are still, in a way, a physical channel like is present. So I really see. I keep mentioning this. This is a one-year phenomena. I'm not so sure that we will do work from home with the same rigor and madness in the coming years also. We don't know. We may not. But we certainly won't go back to what FY19 is. We certainly, I'm sure, cannot sustain a life of FY21. Right? It has to move to a model which is more acceptable, because coming to your other question, two questions. Compensation is a function of supply demand. Right? So in banking sector, I'm sure many bankers already on the panel, the starting salary of bankers in the front line, which is about 1.8 to 2.2, has remained the same for 15 years. Right? It has not changed. And we still have lakhs and lakhs of people joining us. Right? So compensation in India will always be a supply demand challenge. And I think there is sufficient supply. And skilling, I think there are masters like you in the game who will keep skilling people for us. So compensation, I'm afraid, will be supply demand, and that we'll have to see, right? So that to me is not so much a function of work from home or work from office. One. Second, I think on this whole engagement model, I think there are trade-offs. The current work from model is not sustainable always. It will have its own implications on culture setting. So I am not someone who believes that office spaces will have to come down. But certainly the number of times a person has to go to office, irrespective of whether he's supposed to go or not, I think it come down. Flexibility will definitely come into workplaces, but I'm not so sure, because I think physical locations have an extremely important role in shaping culture. Right. And that is an aspect that we're going to miss in the next 6 to 8 months. I am a very positive and optimistic view that by April, we'll have a solution to this. And coming forward next year, I think the world will be very, very different. People will travel. People will want to come to offices. People will want to have a social life. So there is a requirement for us to create those workspaces. We've invested lakhs of money into it. because that's also a way in which we shape thinking of people. So I think we should not do away with many things because of the next 8 months. We should hang on, use this period to change whatever we have to change for the good of tomorrow, but keep the good of the past and get it back when we are able to get out of this problem. So I have a more balanced view and not an extreme view on this. So that's my take on it. But your NCA question, honestly, I think it's a question of how the customers are going to purchase, because no one comes to a bank to buy a loan. People go buy cars, people buy loans, people buy tractors, right? And then finance is only a way to make it happen. But banking itself is not a need by itself. So we will have to see how that behavior changes and how we underpin ourselves under that.
So 2 quick questions and then we'll close, because please don't raise any more questions, guys. One quick question and anybody can answer that. Other than virtual ILT, is there anything else that you guys are doing to upskill your FOS? Anybody wants to go? Srirang, Shanta, Zubin?
I missed you, Ravi. What is virtual? What?
Virtual instructor-led training.
Instructor-led training. ILT. Okay.
The classrooms are gone forever. So a lot of savings for all of us and a lot of less headaches, because nobody's going to crib, no non-veg. Mere ko 3 roti diya, dal mein pani tha, and all that is gone, right? It's all about only the quality of the trainer and the quality of the training. Everybody is going the virtual ILT mode, plus the e-learning and self-service and all that. So other than VILT, is there anything that will really help quickly upskill FOS?
I can, at least at ICICI, I guess, I think it's largely around virtualization of our learning modules, how well we can create those experiences in a virtual space, because I personally believe that there is also value in a physical world in which you connect and shape cultures. I have a very strong, I'm sure all of you are aware, we have a captive supply unit where we have a tie-up with one of the education institutions based out of Bangalore, where I used to hire people and train them for about a year and bring them into the bank. I thought that was one of the biggest value differentiators for us in terms of talent. And that gave us access to some of the best quality talent we could ever have in the country. And it helped us to shape them for those 8 months. Obviously, technical knowledge was being provided, but I think there was a lot of ICICism that we could create and build into them as they walked into the workforce. We will try and virtually create that as much as we can. And that's the current effort, I must tell you, Ravi, and see how best it can go. But obviously, your e-learning and your other digital modes are always there. But at this stage, I think virtualization of such experiences itself is what we're trying to create, and we'll see how it goes going forward.
Thank you. One quick question to Shanta, and one I will end with Zubin. Shanta, since I know you've been onboarding people, is there a way to digitally onboard? This has come from one of my team members, and I wanted to raise it because someone from my team has asked for it. Is there a way to digitally onboard and get on your employees using remote joining processes into branches remotely, then doing some online induction, and still manage to bring that person to connect with the bank?
Yeah, so we did it. Actually, we did it for our summer interns. They joined us, in the month of late April, early May.
Right.
And, we had a process. See, we were taken aback. We first thought, should we postpone their joining? Then, the team has been very efficient digitally. And we are still working from office. Most of us have been going to office since the lockdown.
Right.
And we were just brainstorming, wearing our masks and gloves, of course, because I have to be safe then, sorry. So, one of the things that we realized that we could do the summer intern program quite successfully. Right. We also gave them projects and we assigned mentors digitally.
Right.
And these, every time when the summer interns complete their projects, they are supposed to present to a group of senior leadership, and then we give them their final offers. Correct. Nothing has changed for us. Honestly, the only thing probably we had to change a little bit was voice connect continuously. Right. So normally, because you physically meet them, you're able to connect with them easier. But because they are remote, you have to connect with them almost every day. And I think HR, the employee experience managers played a very important role, because just having mentors who are interested in their was not enough. So we also coupled it with a lot of emotional engagement throughout the process. We also gave them online leadership. All of us from senior management actually did a virtual onboarding for them. We didn't delegate it at the lower, because they see our photographs on the annual reports plus on websites. So it was good to have them. So we made a few cosmetic changes to our induction program just to make sure they felt wanted and they were part of us. Right. The next thing that I think works well with this bunch is when you do online onboarding is to continuously give them small learning bites. To keep them engaged on not just what your bank is all about, but also a little bit about the culture of the bank. Stories, moments of truth. Okay. That have happened. I think all this help you to engage with that, because we're not going on to social media. This is our employees.
Right. Thanks.
So we use multiple channels to reach them.
I have one question from Chaitali Mishra. Can you pose it directly to Zubin, please? She raised her hand, and this is the last question, guys. We have already overspent our time, and I want to close it. There are some of us who are in the offices. Chaitali, can you please ask the question to Zubin? Anand, can you unmute her if she's...
We lost her connect, sir.
She lost her connect. Okay. So then let me ask a question, Zubin. Let me ask a question, Zubin. So far, we have only spoken on retail banking. Vivek was supposed to join, Vivek, Executive VP HR, was supposed to join from Kotak Bank. And I had a question for him. I'll ask that to you. How will corporate banking sales be done? Is this something that you guys are also worrying about? Because there again, you may not get physical face-to-face meeting with clients.
When I got the invite to this webinar, I missed the word retail first.
Yeah.
So I was looking at all sales done by bank.
So that is good. Yeah.
So, and then I looked again and I said, okay, retail. So I started going immediately away from corporate to the branches and to my MFI and others. Yeah, it's going to change. Obviously, the corporate bank is a large part of every bank, as is it in ours. And they have been working for the past few weeks. Right now, under this scenario, I think people are worried about meeting each other. Even if we are eager beavers and we want to land up at the corporate office of a customer, I think not sure whether we can get through there. I think telephone calls, webinar, Zoom calls, etc. happening. But yeah, I'd like to believe what Srirang said. He agreed a bit with me and disagreed a bit with me. That on this part, I think this can't be taken away from anybody. We will be back to some normal, and these physical interactions and meetings will happen, certainly in the corporate banking space. I feel that I don't see too much of a change in both the corporate banking space in terms of number of people or the kind of corporate spaces and office spaces that they would occupy. But I personally hold a view that lesser branches will be opened and smaller size branches will be opened, and more business will be conducted digitally than through physical infrastructure.
Thank you so much.
But as far as the corporate banking is concerned, it's only temporary. Right. They're going to have to meet each other. You've got to meet the CFO and shake his hand.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, the three panelists. Murli, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just wind up quickly. I think there's only one thing I want to tell all of you. Thank you so much. I think I must say that with folded hands. It's been a wonderful experience having three of you. I think we will meet again. Have a lovely evening, and thank you. All the panelists, all the people who walked in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
To you,
Shanta, Srirang, thanks a lot. It was lovely.
Thank you, Zubin. Thank you, Shanta. Yeah, same here, Zubin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Now I go last to say thanks, Zubin. Thanks, Srirang.
Hey,
Very great panelists, yeah.
Ravi, you're
Thank
trying
you,
to say
Murli,
something.
for
Yes, I have one small announcement to all the participants. We'll send you a link. Please do give feedback on that so that we can do the next one better.
Sure. Have you made a digital recording of this?
Yes.
Is it available or?
We will share that with you. We'll
At a
also,
price.
and we will share that.
Yeah, obviously.
We have done.
Obviously.
And if any of you want surveys done in your bank, please do tell us. We'll gladly partner with you to do that. All from
Certainly.
employees.
Sure, thanks.
Certainly.
Thanks, Murli. Thanks.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Murli.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shanta,
Ravi.
Zubin.
Thank
And
you,
thank you all
Murli.
participants.
Be safe, be healthy, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.